Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. Hope everybody's doing well. Wait, I believe everybody's doing well. I have faith everyone's doing well, and everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm excited yet again because you know why I'm excited. I love engaging in dialogues with people from around the world, and today is no different. It's amazing. I have Jenny Rebecca Lewis today. And before she tells you anything about herself, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. So Jenny Rebecca Lewis, after a 17-year career at a big law firm in New York, Jenny turned toward a life of deep personal practice, self-development, and spiritual exploration. She moved to California and then returned to Alabama, where she grew up, to reconnect with her soul, her lineage, and her own true purpose, teaching, speaking, and learning through community and creation. She teaches, speaks, and coaches one-on-one and in groups about purpose, the power of full expression, personal alignment, and self-worth. In 2019, she created a podcast called Sex, Race, and Money, which discusses the learning power of each of those topics. She is a Bikram yoga certified teacher and an author of the children's book entitled Duma's Song in December 2021, which calls its readers back to their soul songs. Wow, amazing. How are you doing today, Jenny?
Hey, thank you. It's always fun to hear my bio read. I'm doing well. Yeah.
And a quite extraordinary one it is.
Thank you.
So, yeah, let's just get right into it. So you were working for a law firm, and then something told you or happened to turn you back into a life of deep purpose and practice. Can you elaborate on that? Tell us how that changed. I mean, what happened to cause that error, if you can get into it a little bit and what it all entailed?
That's a very good question. I was thinking about that as you were reading. It's like life slowly began to crumble. I feel like I'm in another piece of that right now, that same pattern of like shifting and changing. But
Right.
Back then it was, I was managing a team, and my ability to do that was just it became harder and harder and harder. And ended up switching positions to something that was more manageable for me, which, was a huge blow to my ego. At the
Right.
same time, I was dating a person that I'd been dating for 10 years, and then that relationship fell apart. It was like all of the things that were holding me in this particular position just were not holding anymore. And so, as these things began to fall apart, I actually ended up having more time for myself rather than just working and grinding in the routine.
Right.
And it was actually from that quiet time that memories of trauma came up, and I was able to begin the path of healing them. And that actually led me to, I could see that continuing at the law firm, although it was continuing to teach me as I was there, at some point it would be time for me to go. And so I just waited until, that time came. And really after that, devoted myself to personal growth and learning and teaching people about the same thing.
That's amazing, because that sort of testimony story, that narrative never gets old. I mean, we all have our own unique stories, but something always seems to happen right before we're called to look within. And it's usually a lot of uncomfortableness, if you will, a lot of adversity, and just things, like you said, crumbling and falling apart. And we really don't, at the time, it's very scary going through all that. And it's like difficult to hold it together. It's like you don't know what is going on. You're trying to find these answers, and you get to a point in life, and I'm no different, because that's exactly how I started my journey of really looking within and leading the life that I do now, especially in regards to like this show, for instance, to highlight people, extraordinary people such as yourself that go through these journeys. And we all go through a journey, but for you to be able to what you got out of that, of things falling apart and knowing, I think we all have our own, we all have an intuition, is whether we listen to it or not, our inner compass, that we're connected to God, to the universe. And when we do, then we really start to clarify things and simplify things and find our true calling and our path. And oftentimes, like I said, like I just said before, it's scary. And a lot of things that we were maybe once attached to, it's teaching us to let go, you know, and to really connect with our own inner strength. And that's just amazing that you went through that. And I know a lot of people have a hard time, and for a long time I had a hard time believing that those things had to happen for you to transform and to get out of your own way and to start, you know. That's why I've even heard people say, no, I just rather stay in the where I was. It's just much more, you know, familiar, and you know, even if they're comfortable in the discomfort, the comfortable in the misery, because it's familiar, you know. Because change, I'm not gonna lie, it's difficult, you know. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a firm believer. I watch the words that I say, so I don't, you know, want to say something is difficult and then make it difficult. But change, from my perspective, is difficult. It is. It's an awakening. It's shedding of energies, of people, of situations. It's unfamiliar territory, and just all kind of learning and growing. And it takes time, and it's really soul searching and recalling trauma so that you can eradicate them, and just all kinds of stuff. So it is. So I can imagine even just part of what you've gone through. And like you said, you're encountering some things right now. And I think, and then I'll let you talk. I think life is like that. It's a never ending unfoldment, and, you know, contrast too, positive, negatives. And it's up to us to put them pieces together, find out what is this trying to tell us. So whatever you're going through right now, there's something in there for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very similar thing. It's like all of the patterns. I love the way you spoke about it. You said, you know, it's this unknown changing time that happens when things unfold. And I think it's to me, it has the sensation of a free fall, and almost they say these patterns are within your cells. And for me, it does honestly feel like when I step into these changes that the cells of my body are shifting in quite painful ways, you know?
Right. No, I resonate with you on that, because I was just, you know, that's amazing, because I was just telling myself today, and I can't make this up, I was having a conversation with myself at work. I mean, we all talk to ourselves. I mean, even if our lips are moving or not. But I was having an inner dialogue, and I was saying that by me shifting, because I was thinking about, you know, the beliefs that I grew up with in my family. And I was listening to this segment by this man named Ernest Holmes, and he was talking about how a lot of families say, "Oh, this just runs in our family," and don't buy into that. You know, you determine your own destiny. And what that inspired me to talk about with myself is that the way that I'm thinking now and what I'm doing right now and shifting and learning, I'm breaking away from all that supposed generational stuff or whatever. I don't have to accept that as, oh, it just runs with us and this is just how our family is. No, I don't have to
Yeah.
do that. And
Yeah.
it, like you said, it is uncomfortable because I do believe things can be embedded in, our DNA and spirit and things like that. But then but oftentimes we lock into that and we don't know any different. So we're just in that box.
Yeah. And it really, what I'm noticing is it's really embedded within my nervous system. So
Right.
it's boundaries of fear and don't do
Right.
this. That's not going to be great. And, really strike on that fight or flight
Right.
within me. And so the practice is really very slow as my nervous system adapts to.
It is. That's amazing. I was meant to have this conversation with you because there's many things that I was just even having a conversation with someone else and they were asking me what my challenges are. And I said, one of my challenges is to not allow the current circumstance to dictate what I am trying to manifest or what I know is going to be the outcome. Because it's you just think especially if you're programmed a certain way your whole life, you want to, I think your mind, like you said, your cells, it wants to revert back to that. It wants to always revert. So it's always going to run that program right past you. Like, oh, I know you're working on this, but remember this fear, remember this. Oh, you're more comfortable over here. Yeah. So it's work. It's actually diligent work that you have to just be resilient and just keep on and keep on and keep on. And I've even heard some of the greatest people that I admire say, it can take years to reprogram yourself, your paradigm, your shift, especially when you have these deep rooted, things in your DNA, in your mind. But here's a good thing. You're aware of that because oftentimes, people that think a certain way, that's all it is to them. Right. They just, they're this way, whether it be programmed in a religious aspect or superstitious aspect, and they just don't see any problem with it. They're just, this the way I am. Or they won't even say that. They won't even highlight it. It's just, they just know that they're like that. But right. For you to be able to shine a light on it and know that, no, I want to change from this. That in itself is that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. It is. And once you can see it, then it's adjustable. But it's, what was I going to say there? It's a trip, and it's like a certain amount of compassion is helpful too.
Right.
Because there are reasons why we believe what we believe. I think the one I'm on right now, it's very similar to the shifts as I said, in my career and my relationship. It's this looking good kind of person that I really enjoy being. my ego and the part of it, I think that I really can get knocked back on is like if I do something wrong, intentionally or unintentionally, and coming forward with that as quickly as possible. And I've become really good at it over time. And I honestly thought, I was like, okay, I got some mastery here. And then like a new thing that I thought was just like, oh my God, I really am a bad person will come in, and and I'll be like, how am I gonna be with myself here? How am I gonna love myself here? How am I gonna, without like falling on my sword, as they say, where is that place of compassion? And it feels like over and over again.
Right.
No,
I get it.
Unconditional self-love. Yeah.
Right. And that's amazing you're saying that, because one thing I've been working on is, especially for the last couple of years, is loving myself no matter what. And that means that whatever mistakes that I call myself on or someone else might call me on, I'm still me. I still love myself. This is the body that I'm in. This is the person I am. I know that I don't have to compare myself to anyone, but I do know I'm aware that no one out there is perfect. There's people that are good at appearing that way, but just to love myself and to look in the mirror and do mirror work and tell myself, no matter what, I love myself and I enjoy myself. And through what I perceive as mistakes, setbacks, past things, whatever I've done, I'm loving myself.
Yeah.
No matter what. And then another thing that you mentioned that really stood out to me, and you said ego. That is another thing that I've been working on. And I forgot the lady's name, but she taught me to say every day when I get up, I say, thank you, God, thank you, universe, for taking my ego today. Go ahead. I don't need it. Which means, in my perspective, in my circumstance, when people say things to me and then I have to feel the need to justify myself or explain, don't have to. And it doesn't have to be in any arrogant or negative way, but just allowing people to be who they are, to have their opinions, to whatever, and be at peace with myself and not allow it to disturb me in any way. Mm-hmm. Just to know that, anything, whether it was a mistake I made or it's just someone just trying to be mean or whatever it is, I'm going to get into that space where I can just be silent and let people say and think whatever they desire, because that does not control what I think. Yeah. Or there's even a few times where someone has said something, whether it's a coworker or someone close to me, and it's not really uplifting. And I just go, you're right. Because then where's the dilemma in that?
Yeah.
You can't debate that. When somebody, oh, you're this. Okay, you're right. Just go on, and that's, to me, the reason why I'm going to that extent to do things like that, because it's a good practice for me, a person that has allowed my ego to take precedence over my reactions the majority of my life. So yeah, just to be able to allow, like I said, things, people to say or do or whatever, and not have any attachment or reaction to it, and just know that I don't have to reassure anyone, or and when a person is coming from a place where they want to communicate and really get to a solution. But if you're dealing with someone and they're not trying to get to a solution, let them have their opinion, let them have their say so. No emotion attached at all. And that's,
yeah. It reminds me of something I actually read today. I can't remember who, but they were quoting, I know that they were quoting Mike Tyson, and he was saying, in those situations, to engage in it actually makes you, if you engage in the debate of it, actually makes them your master.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm getting to the point where I'm able to either remain silent or to say, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Whether
even if somebody says, oh, you're an idiot. You're right. You're right. Because then they're looking for okay, well, what can I say to that? Instead of, no, I'm not, you are. It's like, no, you're right. Thank you. And I'll move on, because I know I'm not, and I don't have to explain or reassure them that I'm not, because they already have their mind made up anyway at that particular moment. So
yeah,
have your thoughts, have your opinions. That has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm learning to deal with that. So yeah, that's amazing. We're having this conversation because we're showing people, what we're showing people here is that, even if you have a calling, you're a life coach, you're an inspirational speaker, you're whatever it might be, you still have things that you're going through. And I'm a firm believer that you teach best what you need to learn. So things you're more passionate about, things, if you can talk about it firsthand, like, I'm dealing with this now, so I can help teach you what I'm doing right now,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
That is what it means to say yes to being a teacher, because
right,
I think they're over, especially, starting with this podcast, and well, actually with the client I had earlier in this podcast. And then this weekend I'll do a retreat. And then
wow.
next week I have quite a few things. So it's like, okay, Jenny, you're ready to up level and give you some new
Right.
material. So whoosh.
No, but all those things that are happening, that are opening up, are on purpose. And even what I've learned, that it doesn't mean that just because these things are opening up that you're not, that means that everything you're going through is going to cease.
No,
But what I am saying is that these things that you are involved in, the podcast, they're going to help to strengthen you, though, as you're going through whatever you're going through,
Yeah.
So I know this show helps me. So,
Yeah.
there's up and down moments that I go through mentally, or, emotionally, but engaging in conversations and dialogues like this, helps to lift me up and strengthen me. And,
Yeah.
because it's not based on, problems. And I mean, we can focus on, we can run by some problems to get to solutions, but, oftentimes I even hear, like, people, at work, I hear a lot of people, and I used to be the same way. I hear people's dialogues, and it's mostly focused on what's wrong versus what's right. What's right, what's wrong with the situation, with the job, with other people. And I just listen to it. I'm like, wow, I got to get my ears away from that, because I don't want to absorb that. I'm like, man, I used to be that way too. It's like always talking about and focusing on problems and what's wrong. And it's like, we got to get out of that. I mean, and when we do, we can go over those things with a purpose or intention on finding a solution. That's the only time I'll talk about a problem, if I'm trying to dissect it so I can figure out how to, get past it or eradicate it, or to get better next time when I deal with this same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm learning,
I like that. I think that's a good point. I noticed I've been paying attention to that too. And I notice, like, in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll feel good. And then there's a moment where I will, and this is a habit from back in my New York days, where
right.
I will call in all of the problems that need to be solved that day, things that need to be done that day. And then I'm like all armored up and
overwhelmed.
and
You overwhelm yourself.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, I'm doing that. That's a habit, an old habit that I used to have in order to, like, run a certain way. But the pulling in of all of those things is not needed anymore. It's really because I know and I can trust myself in the moment, and that things will show up for me in the moment.
Right. Yeah, that is a habit of a lot of people too, including myself. Is like, we want to make sure that, okay, we dot all the I's and cross our, okay, everything doesn't have to be done at this moment. And it doesn't mean that you have to be lax or anything, but just allow things to flow a little bit, and understand that, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, I mean, everything's going to take care of itself. You don't have to panic and make sure everything, and no, because all that's doing is messing with you emotionally and mentally, and that's not good. Bringing you stress and anxiety.
There's a weightiness to it that it actually closes my energy, because I'm running on, like, this list of problems rather than what's actually true. And and so that's important to recognize, because then if I'm not always with the list, I can actually appreciate where I am.
Right.
Yeah.
And things have a way of working out, anyways, they do. and they're going to work out, I mean, you know what effort you need to give at any particular moment, but I mean, over um, one of my habits I've had for a long time is being over analytical, especially when it's time to sleep. I'm analyzing everything, and then it won't turn my brain off, and that's how you lose sleep and everything, because you're thinking, and it's like, what good does it really do? Nothing. It doesn't.
Yeah. I've
Because
spent a lot of time worrying about things that never actually
that
happen.
never happen. You create things yourself. You create the worst case scenarios, and a lot of people do. And that's good that we're talking about this, because that this is real stuff. And it's like, yeah, you have to be aware of that, and find ways. The same way that you may do it may not be the same, for me, but really, let your inner compass guide you and find ways to alleviate that, and to start being, like you said, key thing that you said was being in the moment. And that reminds me of the book, the Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So yeah,
I love
I
that
read
book
that book
a
a couple
lot.
of times, and like I had said before to someone else, that when I first read that book, I didn't really understand. It didn't make sense to me, but now it makes total sense to me, which means sometimes things can come to us that we may not understand, but don't put a shield up to that, because you don't know. Allow some of that information to go into your subconscious mind, and maybe later on it's going to make sense to you. It's going to come back up again, and then you'll
Yeah.
say, oh, I get it now.
I had
And
the
that
same
was a big
experience
one
with
for me.
that book. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, let's talk about okay, so you coach, you had a podcast in 2019.
Mhm.
So what happened to the podcast?
It's a good question. My life has shifted quite a bit since then. I was living
Oh,
in
okay.
LA at the time, and the
Okay.
podcast is not done.
Okay.
I'm kind of curious about its next form, and
Okay.
it may be that I started again this year. It's just, when things are right,
Right.
it's
When you
right.
feel aligned, everything's aligned to for that to happen. Yes.
Yeah, I've had a lot of shifting in the last 2 years. And so I've moved from LA to Alabama. I grew up in New Orleans, but I spent a couple
Wow.
of years here in my childhood. And my parents are here. So there's just been a lot of healing and growth that's happened over the last couple of years. And
Right.
really just finding my roots again has been an important transformation for me.
Right.
And so now I feel more grounded, and it feels like that podcast is going to take a different form.
Right. Right.
It will likely be more. I don't know. It'll certainly have more of a southern flavor than it did before. Like there's a real soulful, grounded, energetic being back here that I really value. It's unlike, like, it's me, and
Right.
it's unlike anything that's I've experienced anywhere else that I've lived. And I think it brings a real nourishment to me, and will to the listeners too. So I'm really thinking about, like, what's the form? Will I keep the title? I think the topics will likely be the same. I'm just really figuring out what it wants to be, but certainly the conversations will continue. I really enjoyed doing that podcast and having that
Right.
podcast.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, but you like you said, basically what I got from you got to let your inner compass guide you. Just like me, I was doing, I enjoy doing this show, but I had to gear back a little bit and not do it so much. It was becoming overwhelming, and I didn't want it to become a feeling of work or a task. I'm doing this every day. I got it. So I scaled back to doing it like a couple of times a week. So,
Yeah.
and it feels a lot better. That
Yeah.
allows more time for other ventures that I have. But another thing I picked up on with you, and I want to highlight, is whenever you have to fill your own cup first before, and you'll see where I'm going with this, before you can pour out, which means you taking the time to work on yourself and get yourself together. And whatever you have to do, however long it has to take, do it. Because if you don't, you won't have anything to give out, put out there. And it won't be right until you get your own mind, spirit, emotions, where where everything's flowing and in alignment. And I know that because it's like for a long time, I was just, because I had these ideas, I just jump out there and do it. And I wasn't really ready to do it yet, and it showed in the quality of the work and what happened, because most of the time it ended up taking a nosedive. I mean, I had to sit back and say, wait a minute, man, let me work on myself. Because now I'm in a place where, like, I'm doing this show and I'm not attached to any outcome as to its success or failure or what it generates or viewership or whatever. I'm doing this because this is what I love doing, enjoy doing. And I'm coming from that place. And it's not from a place where I need to find something so I can generate this and I can get this going and I gotta have no, not at all. So
I understand. I come from a lineage of the feminine, and that going down and
right,
learning in the down,
right.
is a sort of foundational. It's important. And I think we're beginning to learn that as a society, as painful as it is, we've been up for a really long time. And there's a lot to be alchemized and learned, and it's okay. It's okay to go down and to grieve and to
right,
learn,
right. It
not
is
be perfect and not be in control. And you won't die there, at least in the way that you think.
no, because especially in this Western culture and the way we live, we absorb a lot of stuff, a lot of information, a lot of things. And sometimes you have to go in and cry it out and eradicate some of this stuff and try to make sense of it, So it's not like, and that's another thing. I had to simplify myself and get back to say, you know what? Stop trying to make everything so complex and, I have to be this way and that way and perfect this and that. No way.
Yeah.
Stop being so hard on myself. Now I want to put caring and quality into things that I do, but at the same time, I just want it to flow more natural instead of worrying about okay, how this looks in comparison to this, or I have to have this certain standard, because if it makes me feel that way, I don't want to be involved in it.
Different kind of perfection.
Yes, different kind of perfection. Something that feels comfortable within my my soul, and that's what I'm gauging it by. If it resonates with me, that's it. It doesn't have to be, well, I'm gauging it based on what I think other people how they might find it, or how this might go across to these people. No.
Yeah.
I'm really at a point in life where I'm focusing more on myself, and that's not selfish to me. That's self-love. That's people can resonate with that, because you teach other people how to do that for themselves. And I think if you really think about this, if everybody genuinely think about this, what I'm about to say, if everybody genuinely love, and this is contrary to what people really would probably say, because what you hear is, oh, love one another. But if people really genuinely love themselves, everybody love themselves, that would reflect everywhere. Think about it. Because people often act a certain way, or they're angry, they're this, that, they hurt, because that's what they're reflecting. Pain and prejudice and this and that. They don't love themselves. They really don't. So
Yeah.
reflect that, because if you, whatever, however you feel about yourself, that's what you're going to reflect out into the world and to other people. So there is no way people say, oh, love one another. There's no way you're going to love one another if you don't love yourself. There's
Yeah.
no way you're going to do that.
Yeah. It's a good point. I think we're so externally focused too,
Right.
waiting for someone else to love us first.
Right.
And
Validate
provided
us.
with the permission to love ourselves, that we don't get to the point of actually filling our cup and loving from the overflow, loving externally. And that's I think that's this piece that we're talking about of, when times get hard and it doesn't look good, it feels to me like in those not looking good places, if I can love myself there, then I have it forever. I know myself beyond the checklist. I know what's underneath. And there's a real goodness and a depth and a beauty of my soul that is quite beautiful, and I would have missed but for the challenges that life is sending to me.
And the reason why I'm so adamant about, saying that about the self-love, because for the majority of my life, when I reflect, I didn't love myself. And it reflected in the decisions that I made, the way I treated myself, my body, the decisions that I made, the way I treated other people. It was a total reflection of someone that did not love themselves, love itself. And I didn't. And,
Yeah.
I'm another firm believer, better late than never, because I didn't realize why a lot of these things were happening, why I was a certain way,
Mm.
and I've gotten past the blame, like, okay, well, I didn't love myself because of this and these people and this, my upbringing. Okay, it doesn't, none of that really even matters though, because you have to salvage a life for yourself, no matter what has happened, what has played the part, who did what, okay, that's fine. But yeah, it's your responsibility. That's what I've come to realize. And I'm shining a light on myself, saying, hey, you gotta learn to love yourself. And I've been slowly doing that. And it's feels a lot better. And like you said, I'm not always looking outside for people and things to validate me and to boost up my self-esteem based on what I have or what I acquire or what I accomplish. No, I love myself whether I have a t-shirt on or a suit, whether I have $1 in my bank account or 1,000. I love myself. I'm important. I value myself. And that's what I'm learning. It's like, wow, whether there's a scar on my face or not, whether I have hair or not, I love myself. This is me. And I'm the only one of me. So,
Yeah. I like
no one
that.
can be me. We're all unique, we're
Yeah.
connected, but we're unique. You're the only you. So why wouldn't you love it? That unique self of yours, so I'm really learning. So I've been reading a lot of books and listening to a lot of things, to remind myself and of that and to help me, cultivate that loving myself. Because we said before in the beginning, when you're programmed a certain way, it's hard to get out of that, because then you trip up every now and then. You make these, that's the person that doesn't love himself, thinking like that, about to do that. You love yourself, so you're not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to think that way because now you love yourself, right? You're right. I love myself now. So then I have to tell myself that. And
Yeah. What was the thing that had you turn? Like, what had you decide to change from?
just, I'll tell you some things. I have kids, children, and I listen to, certain things that different ones would say, about me being, maybe selfish or cold or this and that, or just different things. And I had to look at myself and say, wait a minute, man, why am I, there's some truth to what's being said. So not saying that I listen to what everybody says, but in your soul, if you already know something already and somebody's just affirming it. So it just a lot of toxic and dysfunctional things going on between me and my children. So that let me know that what's the common denominator here? Me. So what is it here? And it's me making decisions from a person that does not love himself, and I'm radiating that out to my children. And I had to get a grip on that because it caused a lot of damage, a lot of torn and broken bond and all that stuff. So yeah. And like I said at the beginning, oftentimes when we make these changes, it's because something, some life has did something to you to shake you up. Now you can either take that moment and become bitter and worse or self-destruct or whatever, or you can take that as a wake up, as a hey, trying to tell you something.
Good point. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and oftentimes throughout my whole life, when I can recall getting them shake up points, but I kept moving ahead anytime. I might fall for a minute and then I get back up. Oh, I'm back treading the same trail again, like I didn't learn anything.
Right.
Now I'm getting to a point where something happens and hits me. Like, wait a minute, I'm going to pay attention. What, God, universe, what lesson is this? Are you trying to teach me? Show me so that I won't make that. I don't want to keep making, won't keep doing that again. So the bottom line is also a lot of times when people go through things or anything happens and the same occurrences happen, they still point outward. They go through.
Yeah, he said he did and she did. And
yeah. And I'll give you another example. And I'm not trying to say that there's no fault and there's no valid reason this person did do this, but I went through a lot of dysfunctional relationships, in my life, and each time, she is because she was like this and that might have been true, but again, what was the common denominator in that? Me. So there was something about me that is entertaining this, that is drawing this type of dialogue over and over again for me to keep going through the same exact type things over and over again with different people. Yeah. So as I'm starting to change myself, I see things changing around me. There was something that about me that was attracting certain things and certain types of people. And I'm not trying to say that I have an answer for everything, that sometimes people can be innocently, victimized or be this nice person and but even then, there's something in there, because what I've learned too is that water, when you pour it in something, it seeks its own level. So if you're working on yourself, you're going to attract different into your life. You just are. If you don't, then there's something still in there, that you are still attracting this type of thing, So yeah, I'm learning that. So it just validates what we said at the beginning. It's work. People are probably like, wow, I'd just rather just be like this instead. Yeah, it's work. It's work. It's work to change yourself and to get out of, certain mindsets and and narratives and programming and family vibes, the way you've been brought up, and this is just us, and this is just me. It's work to get to break away from that. But you get to a point where you just see. I got to a point where I just saw that these thoughts weren't serving me anymore, and I got tired of being uncomfortable. I wasn't going to remain comfortable in the uncomfortable anymore, and just because it's familiar. And that's when I decided to start really just changing and looking up other, answers and, things that pointed out women, the way I was taught as far as looking at being resentful about people that have done this and that is wrong. Doesn't mean you have to allow, these type of people back in your life. But if you're sitting there holding on to stuff of what some people have done, that's just going to tear you up and keep your blessings away from you. So wish them well, keep on moving.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of love as well.
Yeah, right. Before we go, let's talk a bit about your book, Duma Song. Now, what inspired that?
Well, funny, I was just going to bring it up. I was sitting at this table where I'm sitting now, and I had attempted a couple of children's books before, and it really, I was going to read a book to a class here, and I was like, oh, I'm going to write them a book. And so I started writing, and then the Duma Song came all the way through. It's based on, there's a lot of African lineage that I really like, deeply resonates in my bones. And this story is definitely one of them.
Right.
It's based on story that you may have seen on Facebook or on the internet about the Himbas, who and also one of my teachers, Malidoma Some, who just passed away, his tribe in Africa, they believe that each person has a unique purpose.
Right.
And
believe that.
in the book, and they know it before the person is born. And so they welcome that person into the community even before they're born, because they know that that person has special gifts to bring, and they know what those gifts are before they're born. In Duma's case, it's the woman and the Himbas hear the song of the being that wants to come in, and that is when she knows she will conceive, once she has listened and heard the song. And the beautiful part of this is, and relates to a lot of what we're saying, is it is the community's responsibility to remind that person of their song, of their beauty, of their and love, and of their unconditional love and purpose on this earth, in their ups and downs and all arounds. And so Duma's song is the story of that, and also invites its readers to find their own song and listen for that.
Wow, that sounds absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna have to pick that up. So that's on Amazon, right?
It's on Amazon, yes, in soft copy, and on Barnes and Nobles in hardcover.
Hardcover.
So yeah, it's a beautiful book. I love it. It will soon be in audio. We're going to do a little music for the audio on Amazon in the next couple of months. You'll see it released there too. I'm really excited about that. I have a person who read it, and he actually heard the same background that I did. He's going to compose the music. So I think it's just going to be a really beautiful offering. I really feel like the steward of this story is just coming through me, and I intend to hold it well. So
wow,
yeah,
that's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And before you go, how can people find you? Do you have a website? And I do have your links, and I'm going to incorporate them into the description of this video. But while I have you here, how do?
Yeah. You can reach me at jennylewiscoaching.com. You can email me at jenny@jennylewiscoaching.com. I do one-on-one coaching, as you said. I'll do one-on-one retreats and group retreats, and teaching, and yeah, so you can reach out to me there. I'd love to chat with you and talk more.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I appreciate having you here today. It was an amazing conversation. I know it was an amazing conversation, even extra extraordinary, because you had me reflecting on myself again. I mean, wow. I mean, I was reflecting on myself, and the reason why I said again, because I was already reflecting on myself earlier today, figuring out some things, and then speaking with you, you had me checking myself again. I'm like, wow. So I know it's an amazing conversation, because anytime you can have a dialogue or a conversation, and it has you figuring out ways you can be better, or better yourself, or reach towards your higher self. That's an amazing experience and opportunity, and I just appreciate you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity, and yeah, it was really beautiful to connect with you.
Yes, and keep me posted on that podcast. I'd like to be part of
I
that too. I
will.
want to be on your show.
Well, you have me thinking about it again today. So it's
Yes.
probably going to be
Yes.
sooner rather than
No rush, but hey, when you're ready, it'll flow. Everything will come together. You know how it works.
Yeah,
So,
I actually thought of the first guests today, so that's a good sign. That's a good sign.
yes, you see, you pay attention to the signs and the
Mhm.
intuition, and yes, so you already know. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for watching. Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. I appreciate. Go get that book, Duma song. Go check it
Yeah.
out. Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. And look up for in the future for the narrated. Yeah, the audio. Yeah, that's coming with the beautiful music. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Peace, love, happiness to everyone.
Thank you.
See you soon.